Hi, I'm Larissa Frain of AHS-TV, and today we'll be doing a spotlight with Mrs. Kidder. So I'm just going to get right into it. So Mrs. Kidder, what do you teach?
I teach 12th grade English, both college prep and AP Literature and Composition. I also teach Creative Writing 1, Creative Writing 2, and I teach those courses also in cyber school.
So what are your courses like?
So 12th grade English is focused on, obviously, college preparation. So just being ready to write papers and read lots of content and textbooks. So we do a lot of that. And then in creative writing, it's more like the fun writing. So creating stories and poems and plays, children's books, stuff like that that's more, creative in nature and fun. So more like an art class or a music class where you're creating or TV production.
I've always wanted to take a creative writing class, but then I just never got to it. There were always things ahead of it, so.
That's okay. I forgive you.
How do you engage your students in what you teach?
Well, right now I feel like I have to tap dance every day in front of the seniors to keep them from sliding down that terrible, we're almost to graduation slide that's happening. But the content is significant. I usually try to pick reading material that people will not hate. Even though they don't want to read, they still won't hate it. So, trying to pick content that I think will apply to the real world, apply to you guys. Is significant. I think everything I do is with purpose. So if we practice something, it's because you'll need it later. Not everybody sees that in the moment, but the writing practice will be good for college. And then we do a lot of exercises or activities that'll be, for everybody, even if they're not college bound. So the resume, cover letter, stuff like that. So trying to keep a balance, keep everybody happy.
I know that I visited the college that I want to go to over the weekend, and I decided I want to go to that school. So it's gotten really hard to figure or push through. So I'm starting to hit that where I'm I can't do schoolwork any longer. But for your class especially, it's not that bad, especially whenever it's stuff that I now understand references to. I always think about that there are certain stories that we didn't read in years before, so now I forever, because I'm not going to read the stuff on my free time, but I'm I wish we were forced to do that in school, because then I would have, I don't know, had the experience with the world. How do you think that your students feel about how you do that? Because I know I feel good, so what do you think about?
Well, few people love English. I loved English, but I didn't necessarily know that until, April, my senior year, where I'm I could probably do this. I knew that English was easy for me, but people I think in our world right now don't necessarily like to sit down and read a book. We're very digital driven. So I think that it makes my job a little bit harder, to keep pushing that material, because you're still going to see that. You're still going to have to read, write, speak, and listen in whatever job you pick. So just trying to make the content, relevant, I think. And now I can't even remember what your question was. So
I don't even know. Yeah,
there you go. But yeah, so that's the hard part. But I think English is useful. So as long as, we can make it connect to something, we're okay.
I like reading because it shows me that I don't need to know what everyone is doing at all times. I can just do something for myself and read a book. I feel with social media, everyone has to know what each other are doing nonstop, but why does it matter too much?
Right.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Slippery Rock University, and it was a last-minute decision, but I really have love for Slippery Rock, so that is where I ended up. And then I did my master's program in principal's papers at Gannon University, but I've actually never been there. It was off campus. So
What made you want to go to Slippery Rock?
I didn't really even think about Slippery Rock. I really was looking at Westminster. I didn't even know what major I wanted. I was thinking psychology, and I just I felt completely overwhelmed. So I know how you guys feel. I was just overwhelmed, with the real world, facing it and deciding what to do and what could I do for the rest of my life. And like I said, I didn't even think about being a teacher. I liked teaching as an option, but I knew I wouldn't teach elementary. So secondary, you have to pick a focus, and I didn't have one. So then I finally was okay, I'm gonna, be an English teacher. because my guidance counselor was like, if you go for psychology, you're going to have to go to school for a really long time. Do you want to do that? And I didn't think I wanted to do that. And, because that's a lot of debt. So I didn't know what to do. And my friend and I, she was going to Clarion. And she already had a roommate picked and everything. And she was like the proactive, like her parents were pushing her to do everything like in September. And it was April, and we were sitting in a math class with Mr. Coven. And she was just like, well, I mean, I applied to Slippery Rock. I don't know why I didn't go there. And I'm like, I didn't apply to Slippery Rock. Why didn't I? Like, let's go look at it. And really it was like a senior, like, it's April. We're in the senior slide. Let's just take a day off of school with one of our college visits.
Yeah.
But really, it was productive because she switched to Slippery Rock instead of Clarion, and we roomed together. And I applied to Slippery Rock for the first time, which was definitely procrastinators, a mess up there because I should have applied in the beginning of the year. But I had applied to IUP, and my dad went there, and I'd heard about IUP my whole life, so I just didn't really want to go there. So it was just so random that I ended up at Slippery Rock, and the rest is history, as they say.
I know for me, it was hard to figure out what school I wanted to go to whenever I had no idea. So for me, it was like hard to be like, oh, I want to go here for this major. I was like, I just want to go in undecided for all these places. But once I kind of thought about more what I wanted to do, it was so much easier to figure out where I wanted to go. And I was interested in Pittsburgh Technical College, so I looked at the majors and I was like, oh, this seems fun. I guess I'll go for that. So like that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And schools are known for certain majors. Like I think once I picked education, it made sense to go away from the private school and go with a state school because even with all of the scholarship money from the private schools, the state schools were still, more affordable, and they are well known, for education. So when you find that major that fits the school, like that it might be a good fit. And I just I'd been to IUP like on a school field trip for a class, and when I walked into Slippery Rock, I knew that was it.
That's how I was for PTC. I was like, oh, this is like me. And during the the tour, I was like, oh, everyone here's so nice. Everyone here just is meant to be here, and it was just awesome. So how do you prepare your students for the future?
Well, I think, the reading and the writing that you see at the college level, it will still be overwhelming. It's not quite what I can do in a 38-minute period, 5 days a week. But just the classes are different, too. So just trying to give you little, like today we did a Socratic seminar in class, in my CP classes, and it was just to practice that discussion because college classes are based on discussion, and you want to make sure you're heard, and you stand out. And so you can't be afraid to, speak up. So different things like that I try to build in, just preparing people for that. I don't give as many graded assignments. Like if I taught 7th grade English, everything would probably be graded. But in college, it's not like that. Your participation is working towards, making everything a project, a presentation, or a paper. Or test. Test. I missed the test one.
I feel like your class, and as well as many other classes, for me, math, it's you get out how much you put in. So how much I study for your tests, that's pretty much how good of the grade I get. And I know for math, if I do this many hours of homework, I get a really good grade. So I think that's nice. I wish that some people kind of thought about that more or cared more. I'm like, why don't you just study for 20 minutes and then you get a really good grade? Some people don't have motivation like that.
Sometimes it takes going to college or going into your next, your job if you don't do that, but just to go there and see what you have to do. And then things click better than they did when you were in these hallways.
I feel like for a lot of kids, they're just trying to survive and make it out of high school. So they're like, I don't have time to actually care. I go. Most kids, well, not most, but a lot of kids don't even go to school. So if other kids are here, they're like, this person doesn't go to school. I'm here, so I'm doing more.
Right.
We've been talking a lot about your school life, but let's kind of start to talk about your home life. So how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
What are their names and ages?
Ava is 21, Finley is 12, and Hudson is 8.
Wow. Has anything been going on with Hudson recently?
funny. Well, he just played in a basketball tournament. So he's playing basketball, and during practice, he misplaced his fake phone, like, like an iPod back in the day when they had iPods. But so he was very frazzled by that. He wants to grow up way too fast, So kids think they need technology right away, and we're holding him off from having a real phone. But yeah, so he lost it. So it's been a good life lesson for him. So now we have it, but he doesn't know that. So he'll have to work, to get that back and be trusted again. But yeah, so 3rd grade, and then college, graduate almost. So yeah, we have a lot going on. And then the middle child, of course, in between.
Yep.
Junior high.
What do you do in your free time?
I like to read books. Yes, real books. I don't have like a digital version of that.
Don't even get me started.
No, I can't do it. I like books. I like to hold the book. I don't do as much reading as I'd like, obviously, during the school year, but I do try to reward myself. Like after I grade a bunch of papers, then I'll read a chapter. I'm reading, The Hunger Games. I think it's, The Hunger Games book right now that I just saw the movie for. But yeah, so I like to read. I like to cook. I go running, only because I like to eat. And, that's about it. I spend time with my dog. My kids say that's my favorite child. His name is Oscar.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Bernedoodle.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Where did you get his name from?
Well, his name is Oscar Wilde, like the author, the British author. But my kids actually like the name Oscar. I just kind of led them to Wilde, and then his second middle name is Arugula. That was like a joke. So it was just a funny name. He's, but Oscar. Yeah, and we were trying to name him something else or call him Ozzy or something, but it doesn't fit. He's just a proper dog with proper name. That's just
cute.
His personality.
My cat's name is Simba because he's orange, so I was like, I don't know. I don't even like The Lion King very much. I was just like, Simba, it works, whatever. And my neighbor was like, you should have named him Mufasa. So Simba Mufasa, that's his name, but we just call him Simba. Whenever you were growing up, what did you do in your free time?
So I'm an 80s child. We rode bikes, all over town, when you just, were around town. And I guess Stranger Things, if
that's
you
what I
need to
imagine.
picture, what I was wearing and everything like that with, but it just riding bikes or playing with friends. I was a townie, so also, you just, got to hang out with your friends all the time. My kids lament over that they don't live in town and we live so far away in the country. But yeah, so I just really, and I was the oldest of 4, so I did a lot of babysitting against my free will. But to help my parents out, I had twin brothers, so they tormented me. That's it. But being outdoors, I did play sports, but I really didn't like them. I played the piano, little things like that. Typical kid stuff.
Yeah, my mom was born in 1970, and I always think about how jealous I am because she would have been 10 at 1980, so she would have had her whole teenage years in the 80s, and I was just the life. Whenever you were younger, what did you want to grow up to be?
I went through a lot of phases. I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I can't swim and I'm afraid of animals, so I don't know why. It sounded fancy. I had a lawyer phase for a while. My grandma talked me out of it because she thought lawyers lie, and so that I regret that one a little bit because there's a lot of reading and writing involved in that. But yeah, I think I just kind of went through some phases, and then psychology was a big phase too.
I know for me, one of my major phases was I wanted to be a fashion designer. I mean, that was elementary school, but I never really had a super dream job. And then a few years ago, I wanted to go into TV production because I like TV production, but I don't know. Right now I'm thinking about going into CAD, so it would be fun.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Kidder, for joining us today, and keep on soaring.